phase gate, project management processes, project management process group, project management knowledge area. So the project life cycle is a series of phases that a project passes through from its start to its completion is called project life cycle. And then we have project phase like a collectivity. What is project phase like? A collectivity of logically related project activities that culminates in the completion of one or more deliverables. And what is phase gate? Phase gate is like, a review at the end of phase. It means in every gate, in every phase gate, there is a review at the end of a phase in which a decision is made to continue to the next phase, to continue with modification or to end a program or project. So that's why it is called as phase gate. And then we have project management processes, like a systematic series of activities directed towards causing an end result where one or more inputs will be acted upon to create one or more outputs. So that's why the project management processes are a systematic series of activities directed towards causing an end result. And then we have project management phase group, like a logical grouping of project managers, input tools and techniques and outputs. And then the project manager process group, including initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling and closing. And project management process group are not project phases. So project management knowledge area. So what is basically a project management knowledge area? So in the PMBOK, we have project management process group and we have project management knowledge area. So the definition for both of them is different. Like, in the process group, it is a logical grouping of project management inputs, tools, and techniques and outputs. In project management knowledge area, it is an identified area of project management by its knowledge requirements and described in terms of its components, processes, practice, inputs, outputs, tools, and techniques. So that's why it is called as project management knowledge area. So now here we can see we have 5 process group in PMBOK guide, 5 process group, which is initiation, starting the project, planning process group, organizing the project, execution process group, carrying out the work, monitoring process group, also carrying out the work and controlling it, and closing process group, like ending the project. And then we have 10 knowledge areas, which is scope management, cost management, time management as well. So there are 10 knowledge areas in PMBOK and there is 5 process group. So these are the things that we have in our PMBOK guide. So we can see here phase gate. You can see a diamond shaped triangle, which is a phase gate. It means, so if we start the project, there is a phase gate. So we have to decide we have to go to the other phase as well or not. And then we have project phases as well. And so this is a timeline. So this is just a denotation of different areas of the project. So this is example of single phase project, an approach to managing the installation of a telecommunication network, like the initiation process, planning process, execution process, and closing process. So basically planning and execution process are monitoring and controlling processes. So that's why one approach to maintain the installation of a telecommunication network is called a single phase, is also a single phase project. So this is called a single phase project where we have initiation, planning, execution, and closing processes. And then we have face-to-face relationship, like sequential relationship, and then overlapping relationship. So this is example of 3-phase project. Like we have facility decommissioning, and then we have waste removal and cleanup, and then we have landscaping. So it means one approach to cleaning up a hazardous waste site. So it means we have 3 phases in this project, where we first decommission the facility, and then we remove waste, and clean up the area, and then we landscape. So it means we have 3 phases. So this is a 3-phase project. At the end of each phase, we decide that either we have to go to the other phase or not. So that's why it is called a 3-phase project. And then we have overlapping relationship, like potential approach to build a new factory. So it means the design and construction phase, they are overlap. So that's why it is called overlapping phase, overlapping relationships as well, because these two phases are overlap between each other, like potential approach to build a new factory. So we design and we construct, we design and we construct. In construction, if there is some issues, we redesign the construction, we redesign we go for redesigning at that point. And then we have project phases and the project life cycle. The project life cycle is, it is a collection of project phases. So basically it is a collection of project phases that defines what work will be performed in each phase and what deliverables will be produced, what kind of deliverables will be produced, who is involved in each phase, how management will control and approve work produced in each phase. So it means how the management will control and approve the work produced in each phase. And then there is a deliverable. A deliverable is a product or service produced or provided as part of the project. So it means a deliverable is a product or a service produced as part of the project is called a deliverable. And then we have more on project phases, as like in early phases of project life cycle, resource needs are usually lowest. The level of uncertainty is highest. Project stakeholders have the greatest opportunity to influence the project. And in middle of the project phases of life cycle, the certainty of completing the project improves. More resources are needed. And at the end phase, we have like ensure that project requirements were met. The sponsor approves the completion of the project. So at the start of each project, the risk is high. This is one of the things. The risk is high at the start of the project. The risk reduces at the end of the project. So that's why, the risk is high. Everything is uncertain at the start of the project. At the end of the project, most of the things are certain. And, we should ensure that project requirements are met at the end of the project. And then the phases of the traditional project life cycle this is the traditional life cycle, like the project feasibility and the project acquisition, where we have in traditional project life cycle, we have concept, then we develop, then we implement, and then we close the project. So we have like project feasibility, like a business case, and then we have project management plan. Okay. We have then in the implementation stage, we execute the project work packages, and then we close the project. We have preliminary cost estimate in the business case, and then we have budget cost estimate in the project management plan in the development phase. And then we have definitive cost estimate at the implementation and lesson learned at the closeout. So we have two levels work breakdown structure at the concept. So it's the concept stage, we have two levels of work breakdown structure. In development, we have three levels of work breakdown structure, and then we have implementation as a performance reports and customer acceptance as a closeout. So this is the sample, one of the sample deliverables for each phases as of concept, development, implementation, and closeout. And this is waterfall and spiral life cycle models. You can see in waterfall, we have analysis, design, construction, team, and support. So this is waterfall model. And then we have spiral model, like the design, implementation, testing, analysis, design, implementation, testing, analysis. So this is spiral model, which we can call as agile, or we can call it as adaptive life cycle. Adaptive life cycle is also called as agile life cycle, which is used mostly in software industries. And waterfall method is used in construction industry, or we can say adaptive life cycle. This is adaptive life cycle. Waterfall method is adaptive life cycle. Spiral model is predictive life cycle. The adaptive life cycle. Waterfall model is predictive life cycle. Spiral model is adaptive life cycle. It means we adapt in the softwares. Okay, so what are the characteristics of a project life cycle? Basically starting the project, then organizing and preparing for it, and then carry out the project work, and then close the project. So these are the basic characteristics of the project life cycle. So we can see here project charter at the start of the project. So we see we organize and prepare, then we have project management plan. Okay, and then we carry out the work, we accept the deliverables, and then we close the project, we archive the project documents as well. You can see here the risk is high at the start of the project. This is the start of the project where the risk is high. The risk is low at the end of the project. This is the project time. The cost of change is low at the start of the project. The cost of change is high at the end of the project. So this is, a graph which shows the cost of change low at the start and high at the end. So the importance of project phases and management reviews. So a project should successfully pass through each of the project phases in order to continue on to the next. So management reviews are also called phase exit gates or kill points, should occur after each phase to evaluate the project progresses, likely success and continued capability with organizational goals. So this is important, like a project should successfully pass through each phases of the project, and there is management reviews called phase exits or gates or kill points, which should occur after each phase to evaluate the project progress, like likely success and continued capability compatibility with organization goals. So project life cycle is a series of phases that a project passes through from its start to its completion. It provides a basic framework for managing the project. And project life cycle can be predictive. Predictive means, like, the one that is used in the construction industry is the predictive life cycle. We plan, we have everything known. We first design and then we go for the construction. In agile or adaptive means we adapt with some time. We adapt with the change. So in softwares, it is called agile life cycle, or also called adaptive life cycle. And then we have iterative life cycle, incremental, adaptive, or hybrid. So these are different life cycles. We will discuss each one of them. So a plan-driven projects have a predictive life cycle. So it means waterfall or traditional life cycle is called predictive life cycle or plan-driven life cycle that requires scope, schedule, cost to be determined in detail in early phase of the project before the work begins to produce the project deliverables. So construction will be a typical example. So one of the example is construction. And change-driven cycles use iterative, incremental, or adaptive life cycles. So change-driven cycles are iterative. It means incremental, adaptive, agile. So they are called agile life cycles that have varied level of early planning for scope. So it means we don't have early planning for scope, schedule, and cost, but we adapt with changes. We adapt, we change. We are driven by the changes in iterations. So this is predictive life cycle, which is also called as waterfall life cycle, or we can say a fully plan driven life cycle. Mostly it is used in the construction industry, where we have requirements and then we have the feasibility report, and then we plan, and then we design, and then we construct, we go for testing and commissioning, and we turn over or hand over the project. So this is a predictive life cycle or traditional life cycle, or we can say it is used in the construction industry mostly. In agile life cycle, it is adaptive life cycle. We call them adaptive life cycle because it has iterations or it is incremental. So the detailed scope is defined and approved before the start of iteration. So it means the detailed scope is defined and approved before the start of each iteration. So it means there are different iterations. The scope is defined before the start of iteration. So it is also referred to as agile or change-driven life cycle. So you want to choose an agile or adaptive methodology when active participation of a stakeholder is required. So it means you choose the agile or adaptive life cycle when active participation of your stakeholder is required. So it means if the participation of the stakeholder is required throughout the project, so then it is called agile or adaptive life cycle. So when you are not certain of the requirement at the beginning of the project, or when you work in the changing environment. So changing environment is basically in the software industry, web development, where they develop the softwares, they test the softwares, and the softwares, if the software is okay, they go for the release of the product. If the software is not okay, they again go for the another iteration, and they go for, like, again they start with the new, and they implement new features in them, and then the iteration is completed, and then that it is being tested. So that's why it's called agile life cycle. So do you have any questions until this slide? So I will explain again if you have any questions related to the previous slides.
No, so okay.
Okay. So as I told you, what is agile life cycle, or you can say agile life cycle is adaptive life cycle. It adapts. It adapts with the changes. It has iterations. And then there is predictive life cycle, which is waterfall method, or the we can say the traditional method is adaptive is a predictive life cycle. So that is the main difference between these life cycles. And we have iterative life cycle, like the scope is generally determined early in the project life, but time and cost estimate are routinely modified as the project team understand the project nature and the product increases. So the product of the project continues to evolve. So it means this, we are talking about product. Product means the softwares, okay? The software by adding functionality during repeating iterative cycles. So iterative life cycles may take more time than an incremental approach because this approach is optimized for learning rather than speed. So this is a great development life cycle to use when the team is new to agile approach because of the optimization for learning. So then we have incremental life cycle, which is similar to iterative, but the incremental approach use predetermined periods of time. So it means we have predetermined periods of time. So that's why we call it incremental life cycle, not to be consumed with iterative life cycle. So to complete the deliverable. So during each iteration, new functionality is introduced. The deliverables is considered complete after the final iteration is finished. So incremental development life cycle are the best when speed of delivery is necessary. So it means when the speed of delivery is necessary, the incremental development life cycle are the best. And then there is hybrid life cycle, which is mix of predictive and adaptive life cycle. Like this development life cycle is a combination of predictive and adaptive life cycle. So it is a mix of predictive and adaptive life cycle. So adaptive in the development of the cycle refers to iteration or incremental life cycle. So the elements of deliverables that are well known at the beginning of the life cycle will follow a predictive approach. So it means those elements that are known will follow a predictive approach, and those elements which are not known that will follow the adaptive nature of this cycle. So it is a mix of predictive and adaptive life cycle. Then we have face-to-face relationships, like the sequential relationships, overlapping relationships, and the iterative. So agile life cycle in 2001, several software developers converged to formalize the agile approach. So they published the manifesto for agile software development, agilemanifesto.org, and identified 12 principles that are focus of agile approach. It means they identified 12 principles that focus on agile approach. So these principles include factors such as daily interactions between the business and agile teams, and then the frequent deliverables and the self-motivated teams with a focus on continuous improvement. So it means these 12 principles focus most on the continuous improvement. So key principle in the agile manifesto is a focus on the value to the customer. So it means the focus here in this manifesto is the focus on the value to the customer. Value to the customer is a focus here. We can see here there are several agile methodologies to choose from, like some of them suited for software development, such as Kanban, Lean, Agile, Scrum, XP, FDD, DSDM, Scrumban, Crystal. So these are the different manufacturing processes also. Okay, so Scrum, what is basically a Scrum? A Scrum is a form of agile project management. So it is an agile project management. Scrum project team consists of cross-functional team members, and they are self-organized. So it means they have cross-functional teams, but the people are self-organized, and the staff are self-directed. So Scrum emphasizes daily communication and the flexible reassessment of the plans, which are carried out in a short iterative phase of what called sprints. So it means in Scrum we have sprints. So there has to be a team facilitator, which is a Scrum Master. So it means a Scrum Master act as a project manager. So this team facilitator is called as a Scrum Master, which in predictive life cycle we call them a project manager. So it has different iterations as well. And sprints are always time bound. So it means in sprints there is time bound. We have fixed timings, and generally consist of 2 week time period. So they are usually consist of 2 weeks time period, but they can be consist of any short period of time defined and agreed on by the time. So the goal of sprint is to produce a deliverable or a tangible portion of the deliverable by the end of the sprint. So it means there should be a tangible portion of the deliverable here. So sprint is a term that is specified to the Scrum methodology. So other methodologies use this time-bound approach and call these short work period iterations. So it means in Scrums, we have iterations, which is time-bound. Okay. So that's why, and there is a leader which is called as a Scrum Master. So it means Scrums are mostly, they are customer focused. It means that the project team gathers the wish list from the customer. So it means we have feedback from the customers, we have a wish list from the customers and from the end users. So we work on these lists to make a great product at the end of the sprint. So these are also called user stories. They are also called user stories or simple stories, where we work on these features that are written from the perspective of the end users. It means the end users, they wrote down these stories here. So the user stories are kept in the product backlog. So the user stories, they are kept in the product backlog, where they are being used in each sprint. Okay, and there is a team facilitator which is called as a Scrum Master. So we work on the wish list of the customer in the Scrum methodology. And then we have Lean. Lean is also another agile methodology that is concerned with making work processes as efficient as possible while assuring that the quality of the output is excellent. So it means here in Lean, we mostly work for the quality of the output. The quality is important in Lean here. Okay, and we're working more processes like as efficient as possible. So Lean thinking aims to reduce or eliminate waste. So it means in Lean, we eliminate waste. We work for quality, we eliminate waste. So much of Lean thinking. So this type of methodology is being used in Toyota. Is derived from Toyota executives. So it means that Toyota executives such as Taiichi Ohno, they develop these Lean thinking methodology. So it is used in basically in manufacturing industry, where we work for the quality, and we reduce the waste. So also thinking Lean is primarily focused on manufacturing. It does not mean that the principle of cannot be focused in another project management processes. So the project manager is sometimes referred to as Sensi. So in Lean, we call the PM as a Sensi. In Lean, we call them Sensi. In Scrum, we call them Scrum Master. So then we have Lean Kaizen. Lean Kaizen means continuous improvement in Japanese. So this word is used for the continuous improvement. Means continuous improvement. So the idea behind Kaizen is to continually improve service and quality and reduce waste. So waste is anything the project team is doing that does not add value to the process. It means here again we work for to reduce the waste, and we work for continuous improvement. So it means the word that is being added here is called as continuous improvement. So there are type of ways that Kaizen looks to eliminate, like motion, waiting, transportation, storage, defects, processing, and then our production. So these are the type of ways that Kaizen usually eliminates. And then we have Lean Kanban. Kanban is a lean scheduling agile methodology that was developed by Toyota Motor Corporation. So this is also developed by Toyota Motor Corporation. And it considered on-demand scheduling methodology because the work is pulled throughout the system according to the demand. So it means according to the demand, the work is being pulled. So Kanban means there is a billboard. There is a billboard or sign where you construct a board that represents your project. So it means in that board, the project is represented. So the PM is sometimes referred to also as a flow master. So the PM is referred to as a flow master here. So you can see here, this is a product backlog where we have, a billboard where item 1, 2, 3, and 4 are written. So these are the requirements, these are the needs, okay? And the team work on this, like build, test, and done for the motors, So they write down here on this billboard in Lean Kanban. So mostly it is used in Toyota manufacturing industries. We also have backlog in Lean Kanban where we see these parts are in progress, these are in for peer review, these are in testing, these are done, and these are blocked. So this is fast track defect. We have defects. So when we work for quality, we reduce the waste here in Lean Kanban, but we have billboard where our project is here on the billboard and we see the progress according to the requirements. So that's why it is called as Lean Kanban. So any number of column can exist in product backlog and done columns. So it means you can add different columns here. And Kanban is like Scrum, both are called pull systems. So it means Kanban is a pull system. We pull, if there is a requirement, we pull the requirement from the board. We require these we require this number of units of Toyota Land Cruiser or Toyota Sunny car, or Toyota, any type of car is we can refer to it. So a new task is pulled from the previous column. So that means a new task is pulled from the previous columns in this board. So however, unlike Scrum, which uses sprints that typically consist of 2 to 4 weeks worth of work, Kanban is a continuous system. So Kanban is basically a continuous system. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for again for 10 minutes. Okay, I will take my lunch as well. So this is a 10-minute break. Okay, refresh your mind. So come back again. So we'll continue from here, from Lean Kanban again. Okay, if you have any questions at the start of the session, you can ask me. So we'll be there on 4:26. So we'll start the session again on 4:26. Okay, these breaks are necessary because the fast way nature of delivery of the of the of the of the of the of the teaching is not good. So we will take these breaks if these breaks are necessary for us, even for our mind to be refreshed. So here we will have 10 minutes break. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, yes.
Yes, we will start the session.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we were discussing lean Kanban. Like we discussed that lean Kanban has product log and they have different columns. And lean Kanban is like Scrum, like they have pull systems. The task moves from one column to the next, and new task is pulled from the previous column. However, unlike Scrum, which uses sprints that typically consist of 2 to 4 weeks worth of work, and Kanban is a continuous system. So, what is extreme programming? Extreme programming is like another agile methodology which is used in software development. And extreme programming consists of conditions such as they are dynamically changing, they have dynamically changing user requirements. And this typically happens when the customer or end users does not have a clear idea of what they need. When a high amount of risk is associated with the project, and when you have small development teams of two and 12 programmers. So it means if you have 2 to 12 programmers and you have a high risk associated with the project, and when there are dynamically changing user requirements of customers that does not have a clear idea, so that's why it is called, these conditions are being considered for the extreme programming. So extreme programming requires that all project team members work together collaboratively to create the product of the project. And extreme programming also requires an automated unit functional tests, integration tests, and unit tests are tests on small whole units of codes to determine whether the code is functional. And integration testing involves testing specific pieces of the code together to see if they perform as expected. And functional testing is an end-to-end test to ensure the code works throughout the entire process. And what is Six Sigma? Six Sigma consists of a set of management techniques designed to do away with defects and increase productivity. It means to reduce the defects and to increase the productivity to its maximum. To its maximum is called Six Sigma. And Six Sigma practitioners are highly regarded. They are well paid and leaders in the lean manufacturing project management industry. So Six Sigma analysts typically look at one process at a time to evaluate the process for defects or errors. So they correlate that information using statistical techniques and look for ways to improve the process. So Six Sigma is discipline oriented and focused on developing and practicing disciplines that improve and maintain quality. And they rely on mainly on statistical sampling and DMAC configuration like define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. So organization structure in Agile. Most of the previously discussed may apply with similar tasks, like example of factors that may influence the selection are geography may influence projects due to different locations and cultures, competing interests among the dispersed division within the organization, language barriers, and more. So Agile approach can help encourage collaboration when the organization faces geographic challenges. And functional organizations are hierarchical, as you learned earlier in this chapter. Due to their chain of command structure, it could be difficult to introduce a highly collaborative approach, such as Agile in this type of organization. So there may be resistance, especially from those in those positions of authority. So practice some of the mentoring skills we talked about earlier and start educating the stakeholders on the benefit of Agile. So it means if we organize the organization structure in Agile is if we have different staff members from different geographical locations, so they can work in collaboration with each other on the agile methodology. So their chain of command structure, it could be difficult to introduce a highly collaborative approach such as Agile in this type of organization. So there may be resistance, especially from those in positions of authority. So these are the examples, factors that influence the selection criteria as we discuss now. So that's why the organization structure in Agile is of geographical location, because most of the software that are developed are being developed from different locations. Like the people they mostly work online from different geographical locations. So they have a set of iterations and they have a backlog. So that's why they can organize the structure in Agile as well. So large project deliverables are not practical when using Agile methodology. So it means for large projects, it is not practical to use Agile methodology. So Agile is based on small, frequent cycles of delivering minimum viable products like features and functionality. So consider reducing the size of deliverables using Agile approach. This will increase the spend with which business value can be realized by the organization. So assigning human resource occur organically on an Agile method. So Agile team members are self-organized. Agile team members, they are mostly organized, self-directed. So Agile Practice Guide notes that you should consider asking for one resource from each department to work on the project full time until it's completed. So resources should be allocated based on the priority of the project in the organization. So examples of factors that influence the selection again are procuring project work from external vendors. So it means if you procure the work from external vendors, this is a common practice. So many organizations rely on network of vendors. So it means many organizations has network of vendors. Like the vendor's best interest is the profitability of their own organization, not yours. So it means that does not mean they won't perform good work, but you need to keep this in mind. So it means if we are procuring work in Agile methodology from different vendors, so it means that different vendors, they are thinking about their profits, not your profits. So we should have the team members, they should keep in their mind while procuring work in Agile from different vendors. So this is knowledge and expertise that won't be available to the organization after the vendor has finished the work. So this is where Agile methodologies can help. So because Agile is collaborative, so and transparent and cross-function team members are highly engaged in the project, knowledge transfer will occur, so the project work is performed. So it means there's more collaboration, the work is more transparent, cross-function team members are highly engaged in the project, so knowledge transfer will occur as the project work is performed. So additionally, the retrospective meetings at the end of the iteration will help in improving transfer and capturing lesson learned for future projects. So the retrospective meetings at the end of iteration will help in improving knowledge transfer and capture lesson learned for future projects. So these are in processes, we have inputs, tools and techniques and outputs. We will discuss this one by one for the different processes. So project management tools and techniques. So project management tools and techniques, what does project management tools and techniques do? They assist the project managers and their teams in various aspects of project management. Like project charter, we have the project scope statement and the work breakdown structure. And then we have Gantt charts, network diagrams, critical path analysis, critical chain scheduling technique, and cost estimate and earned value management cost. So these are the tools and techniques for the project management that can assist the project manager to help the project team in the different aspects of project management. So we have support tools such as scope statements, requirement analysis that are highly used and potential for improving project success, and tools that are already extensively used that have been found to improve project importance include progress reports like the kickoff reports and Gantt charts. So these are also considered as super tools because they are used mostly, and they provide good support to the project. Project management processes. So what is project management processes? So we have 5 processes and 10 knowledge areas. You should remember this. We have 5 processes in PMBOK and 10 knowledge areas. So what are these 5 processes? These processes ensure the effective flow of the project throughout its life cycle. So the process encompasses the tools and techniques involved in applying the skills and capabilities described in knowledge area. So it means they describe the skills and capabilities in the knowledge area. So project-oriented staff have product-oriented processes are like, they are specific and they create product. Right, product-oriented processes are typically defined by the project lifecycle and vary by application area. So product is, when I use the word product, it means agile lifecycle. It means I'm talking about the softwares, okay, the adaptive lifecycle. I'm talking about the adaptive lifecycle. So what are the processes that are involved in product? These processes specify and create the project product. So product-oriented processes are typically defined by the project lifecycle. So they are typically defined by the project lifecycle and vary by application area as well as the phase of the product lifecycle. So the scope of the project cannot be defined without some basic understanding of how to create the specific product. So for example, various construction techniques and tools need to be considered when determining the overall complexity of the house to be built. So here we can see the project management process group, like the initiation process group, planning process group, execution process group, monitoring and controlling process group, and closing process group. What is the initiation process group? Initiation process group is to help define a new project or new phase of an existing project by obtaining authorization to start the project. So it means we have authorization to start the project in initiation process group. And then we have planning process group, where process required to establish the scope of the project, refine the objectives, and define the course of action required to attain the objectives that the product was undertaken to achieve. So in execution process group, processes performed to complete the work defined in the project management plan to satisfy the project specifications. And in monitoring and controlling process group, process required to track, review, and regulate the process and performance of the project, identify any areas in which changes to the plan are required. So in closing process group, process perform to finalize all activities. So we close the project in closing process group. We monitor and control the project in monitoring and controlling process group. And in execution process group, the processes are performed to complete. In execution process group, the work is performed according to the project management plan. And in planning process group, we plan, and initiation process group, we have the authority to start the project. So these are the 5 process group. According to the PMBOK guide, the definition is there, and these are the requirements of the 5 process group. Then percentage of time spent on each process group. So we can see here in initiation, the time is like for other project managers, this is gray color, and the dark gray color shows alpha project manager. So this is project manager, time spent on project. In initiation, you can see the alpha project manager, they are working like a small at a little level. In planning, they usually, they spend most of the time. In execution, they are spending most of the time in execution process group. And then the third one is monitoring and controlling, and then at the last stage we have the closing. So this is the time spent by the project manager on each process group. So we have like, initiation as I, planning, P as planning, E as execution. So execution and monitoring controlling are, they are interlinked to each other by the arrows. So it means there is coordination between execution and monitoring and controlling process group. And then we have closing. Okay. So this is the definition. This is the representation of the process group. So we have project information, like throughout the life cycle of the project, a significant data is analyzed, collected, transformed, and distributed in various forms to project teams and other stakeholders. So the collected data are then analyzed, aggregated, and transformed to project information. So the information then is either communicated and stored and distributed in various formats. So it means this information is communicated, stored, and distributed in various processes, in various formats. So what are the work performance data, information, and reports? The raw observation and measurement identified during activities performed to carry out project work is known as work performance data, work person complete, quality, and technical performance measurement. The performance data is analyzed in context and integrated based on relation across area is known as work process information, status of deliverable, forecasting to completion. The physical or electronic representation of work performance information compiled in project document is known as work performance reports. So they are known as work performance reports. So we have project management data, like, the execution process group, controlling process group, and overall project control. And then we have project communication. We can see the various project processes, the project change control procedures in project communication. So work performance data is then driven by the controlling process group, like the work performance information, and then work performance report from the overall project control. So if we have some changes, so it will be like the project control changes, which will be for various projects, and then the project communication is going on between team members and the stakeholders. This is the processes frequently overlap during the life of the project. For interface or start of the project, we have initiation, then planning, execution, monitoring, and controlling. They are interlinked or coordinated with each other. Then we have the closing processes like the exit phase or end phase. The initiation process group consists of those processes performed to obtain a new project or new phase of an existing project by obtaining the authorization to start the project or phase. So we can see here the project inputs, the project boundaries, the project deliverables, project records, and then the end users and the process assets. And then we have 10 management knowledge areas, like which are the key components that project manager must develop, which is project integration management, and then project scope management, project schematic management, project schedule management, cost management, quality management, resource management, communication management, risk management, procurement management, project stakeholder management. So these are the 10 knowledge areas according to the PMBOK guide. So basically the PMBOK guide, the PMP, I'm talking about the PMP exam. The PMP exam consists of 10 knowledge areas on the extreme left column. Okay, 10 knowledge areas: integration management, scope, schedule, cost, quality, resource, communication, risk, procurement, stakeholder. And we have 5 process groups: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, and controlling, closing. So we see here every knowledge area is being involved in different process group. Okay, like let's say, for example, project cost control. It is being done in plan cost for planning process group. Project integration management has to develop project charter. Project stakeholder management identify the stakeholders in initiation process group. So we will discuss this one by one in detail in the upcoming slides. So these are the number of processes. Like we have for initiation 2 processes, for planning 24 processes, for execution 10 processes, for monitoring and controlling 11 processes, for closing 1 processes, for total of 49 processes. Okay. So what are the tailoring considerations for any given project? The project manager in collaboration with the project team is always responsible for determining which processes are appropriate and the appropriate degree of rigor for each process. This effort is known as tailoring. So what is basically tailoring? The project manager in collaboration with the team members is always responsible for determining which processes are appropriate. So it means they should determine which processes are appropriate, and the appropriate degree of rigor of each process is known as tailoring. So we call them as a tailoring. We call those processes, the right processes for the project, the tailoring process. Tailoring. Okay, these are the project interactions. You can see the level of interactions: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, and closing. So we see here there is overlap between planning, execution, monitoring, and controlling. So there is again overlap between somehow in closing, monitoring, and controlling, and execution and planning process group. So these are the overlaps here. And then what is the project pre-initiation? Before initiation, it is good practice to lay the groundwork for the project before it officially starts. So senior managers often perform several pre-initiation tasks, including determine the scope, time, and cost constraints for the project, identify the project sponsor. So at the start of the project, they should select the project manager. They should develop a business case for the project with the project manager to review the process and expectation for managing the project. And then they should determine if the project should be divided into 2 or more smaller projects. So it means this is pre-initiation. Before initiation, we have these discussions about scope, time, cost, sponsor, project manager, business case, The project can be divided into small projects, groundwork for the project. So in project initiation, it includes reorganizing and starting a new project or project phase. So the main goal is to form, select, and start off projects like knowledge area, project integration management. We have, like you can see here, initiation process group. It is to develop a project charter, and output is the project charter. And in stakeholder management, we identify the stakeholders, and the output is the stakeholder register. Okay, so these are the initiation processes and the outputs for the knowledge areas. So what are the key points of initiation? So we should formally start the project and then identify and analyze the stakeholders to align their expectations. And then identification of high level of scope and any known constraints and assumptions, and providing authority to the project manager. So these are the points that is the key point for the initiation. And then we have high level of risk. We should know the high level of risk. We should know the project charter as an output. And then we have the stakeholder register should be there as an output. So we have like the project charter and kickoff meetings. Like charter are normally shorter and include key project information and stakeholder signatures. So it is a good practice to hold kickoff meeting at the beginning of the project so that stakeholder can meet each other, review the goals and projects. So it means there is a kickoff meeting. So why the kickoff meeting is necessary? We should meet with each other, review the goals of the project, and discuss the future plans. Okay, so this is a common practice for the kickoff meetings. And then we have kickoff agenda, meeting agenda, such as the project management intranet site project objectives. So this is the meeting agenda. The agenda is like the attendees and the project background and the organization structure, scope, time, cost, goals, and discussion of important topics, list of action items from meeting. So who is assigned action item, who is assigned to, what is the due date, so due date and time of next meeting. And then we have important concepts such as the project business documents like the business case and the project benefit management plan. So basically a project business case is a economically feasibility study to establish the validation of the benefits of the selected component. And the project benefit management plan is the explanation defining the process of creating, maximizing, and sustaining the benefit provided by the project. So the project sponsor is generally accountable for the development and maintenance of the project business case document. So we have target benefits, strategic alignment, time frame for realizing benefits, benefit owner metrics, assumptions, and risks. Like we see what are the project benefit management plan, which we should have the target benefits, like the expected tangible and intangible value. And then the strategic alignment, like how well the project benefits align to the business strategies, and time frame for realizing benefits, like benefit by phase, short term, long term. And then business owner, the accountable person to monitor, record, and the metrics, the measurement to be used to show benefits. And then the assumptions and the risk for realization of benefits. And then we have the project selection, like benefit measurement methods like murder board, project shooters, peer review, score models, economic models, and then constraint optimization, linear programming, integer programming, dynamic programming, multi-objective programming. And then we have economical models, like usually more than one model is used, like the value is indicates the significance of the project to the company. The project should not be selected only because it is least expensive or more feasible. And the project manager needs to know if the project will establish new business area or implement to meet regularity and compliance requirements. So these are the economic models here. And then we have present value, net present value, the internal rate of return, the payback period, and the cost benefit analysis are part of the economic models. So what is basically a net present value? Net present value is present value is 3,000. So present value is equal to future value divided by 1 plus interest rate to the power of n, that is number of time periods. So I will ask one question: what is the present value of $300,000 received 3 years? 3 years from now, if we expect the interest rate to be 10%, should the answer be more or less than 300,000? So can you answer me on this question? Hello? Yes, anyone can answer on this question? Anyone there?
Yes, yes.
Yes. What is the answer here? So what is the present value of $300,000 received through 3 years from now if we expect the interest rate to be 10%?
It will be more than 300,000, right?
Okay, you are saying, how did you calculate? How
This
did you?
10 is yearly. Mean the 10%. It was saying what was the present value of $3,000 received 3 years from now if we expect the interest rate to be 10%. This is overall one time 10%. Huh?
Yes, the interest rate is 10%. So 1 plus 10% to the power of n.
And this is number of time periods. So here they didn't mention any
3 years.
months or once in a month or once in a
3 years, 3 years.
Okay, 3. The n value is 3, right?
Yes.
R value is 10.
Here R value is 10%. 10, write down 10.
Okay, 10, that means 0.01. Huh?
Yeah, what is the future value?
Future value will be present value times the 1 plus R to the power of 3.
Yeah, so what is the present value?
Present value is 300,000. So 300,000 multiplied by 1 plus R.
So what you are going to do, 1 plus R is equal to 10 to the power of n is equal to 3. So you have, how much, what is the value now?
1,000.
No, 1 plus R to the power of n. What is the value here for this, 1 plus R to the power of n?
Yeah, it's 1331.
133?
1.
So it is more than 300 or less than?
So less than 300,000.
Yes.
Yeah, let me calculate it for you. 1 second. This is a calculator now. So let us calculate here. You are saying 1 plus R to the power of n. So 1 plus R is equal to 10. Okay. To the power of n.
3.
It's coming 3, right?
Yeah, but we are not seeing what you are typing there.
No, I'm taking this calculator. Do you see the calculator?
No, we're not able to see the calculator.
Can you see now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm typing 1 plus R. R is 10.
10%. 10.
Yeah, to the power of n. So what is the value? 1 plus R to the power of n. What is the value coming in your calculator? Because I don't have the hard calculator.
1331.
1331. Okay.
Yeah.
1331. And what is the future value here?
Present value. Present value is 300,000. 1331.
300,000. Okay.
Yeah.
Divide by 1331. Well, let me take this calculator. I have this calculator. So if it is 1331, so what is the present value for 300,000 received from 3 years? So this should be 300 divided by 1331. It will be less than now, or it will be less than. Okay. It will be less than. It will not be more than. It will be
It
less
should
than.
be less than.
Yes. Okay. Let me share the screen now. Okay. So what is the net present value? The net present value, the total benefit minus the cost over many time period is called net present value. The total benefit minus the cost over many time period is called the net present value. So an organization has two projects to choose from. Now you have one question. I'm going to ask one question from you. Project A will take 3 years to complete and has a net value present value of 45,000. Project B will take 6 years to complete and has a net present value of 85,000. Which one is better for investment? Which one is best?
Project A will be the best, no? It will be completed in 3 years.
No.
In 3 years.
You know, the higher the value, we should take those projects. We should the best project for investment is, you know, project B will take 6 years to complete and has a net present value of 85,000. So its net present value is 85,000. So better to take project B.
6 years, the cost will be increased.
Yeah, the cost will be increased, no? So that's why
Yeah.
it is better for investment in project B, not project A. Okay, so what is the internal rate of return? The interest rate at which the project revenues, or is called project cost, is called internal rate of return. At which the project revenues, okay? This is called internal rate of return. So an organization has two projects from which the project A with an internal rate of return of 21% or project B with internal rate of return of 15%. Which one is a better option? Project A or B?
The project A.
Project A, because the value is high, the internal rate of return is high.
Yeah.
That's why we'll take project A. Okay, payback period, the length of time it takes out for the organization to recover its investment in the project before it start accumulating. So this is called payback period. So a project A with a payback period of 6 months or project B with a payback period of 18 months, which one should the organization select?
Project A.
Why?
Because we are getting the return in 6 months.
Okay. And the other B, we will get the return on in 18 months. So that's why we'll go for project A, right?
Right.
Okay. So cost benefit ratio. So it is not the name, it is not the same as the name suggests, it is the benefit over the cost. So it means if the ratio is the benefit over the cost, so the higher the better. So you can see here, benefit cost ratio. It means which one you will choose now here. For net present value, if the project A has more net present value, we will select project A. For internal rate of return, if the project B internal rate of return is high, so we will select project B. Payback period, we will take the short payback period like the project A. For cost benefit ratio, we will take the highest one, which is 2.79. Economic value added, concerned with whether the project returns more value than the initiation cost. So it is called as economic value added. So project A net present value is 45,000, project B net present value is 85,000. What is the opportunity cost of selecting the project B? So what is the opportunity cost? It is 45,000, right? The opportunity cost is 45,000. So opportunity cost of a choice is the value of the best alternative foregone. So we have 45,000 plus if we compared with project A. So that's why the project B is important. It's an opportunity cost for us. So what is sunk cost? It is a cost expended. It should not be considered when deciding whether to continue with a trouble project or not. So it is an expended cost. It should not be considered when deciding whether to continue or with the trouble project or not. So a law of diminishing returns, it is after a certain point adding more input, the programmers will not produce a proportional increase in productivity. So that's why it is called as law of diminishing returns. And then we have depreciation. Depreciation means decrease. Like, if you buy a Rolls-Royce car, right? Rolls-Royce car, its value will depreciate after some time. If you buy a brand new car and, after some time, its value depreciate, so it's not investment. It is the value depreciate. If you buy a new mobile, its value depreciate. So there is straight line depreciation and then there is accelerated depreciation. So double declining balance is a type of accelerated depreciation in which the depreciation rate is double the straight line rate. So an asset costing $220,000 has a depreciation rate of 8%. Calculate the depreciation for the first year. So it means 8% into 20,000 is equal to first year depreciation is 1,600. If double, it is 3,200. So it means the value depreciate with the time. And then we have stakeholder identifications, where we have mainly the power interest grid, power influence grid, and impact and influence grid. If our stakeholders have high power and high interest, so we manage them closely. If the stakeholder is have high interest but low power, we keep them informed. If the stakeholder has high power and low interest, again we keep them satisfied. If the stakeholder has low power and low interest, so we only monitor them. So this is called stakeholder identification. So let's say, for example, stakeholder name is like Rayan project sponsor. So need to replace an aging system with a more modern system than easier to use. So need a better reports to inform decision making. So it is medium. It's moderate. Need to lower cost of operation. So it is high. So key stakeholders in operation needs to improve productivity of workers. So it is high. So these are the different identification techniques. How we differentiate them with the stakeholder name, needs and interests, and potential impact. And then we have salience model, like another form that categorized based on urgency, power, urgency, and legitimacy. So power refers to their ability to influence the project outcomes. Urgency refers to stakeholders who may have a significant investment or interest. And legitimacy means that they have a legitimate need to participate in or receive the benefit from the project. So this model is very helpful when you have a large number of stakeholders. So there is some models, salience models, which categorize the power, urgency, and legitimacy techniques, where power reflects their ability, urgency refers to stakeholders who have a significant investment, and legitimacy means they have a legitimate need to participate in or benefit or receive the benefit from the project. So this model is very helpful for identification the large number of stakeholders. You can see here the power, legitimacy, and urgency stakeholder identification, like the latent, expectant, and demanding. So we see here there is overlap. So overlap between legitimacy and power is dominant. And we can see here if there is overlap between urgency and power, so it is dangerous. If there is overlap between legitimacy and urgency, so it is dependent. So this is also an identification of the stakeholder. So we see here, like the category classification, subclasses, level of involvement with projects like power, legitimacy. So if the power plus legitimacy, the classification is expectant, and then the subclass is dominant, and the level of involvement with the project is medium or high. And power plus legitimacy and plus urgency, if the classification is high, the subclass is low, not applicable, and the level of involvement with project is high. So we see here like the name with the position, with the internal or external stakeholder, the project role. So this is just a stakeholder register, example of stakeholder register. And then we have the contact information as well. And then we have stakeholder management strategy, like, the level of interest with the level of influence, and then the potential management strategies, So this is the, things, we distinguish between the strategy for the stakeholder management. And then the project planning, like the purpose of project planning is to guide the execution. Why we do the planning? To guide, to execute, to guide the project execution. So every knowledge area include planning information. So most of every knowledge area has planning information. So key outputs includes the team contract, the project scope statement, work breakdown structure, project schedule in the form of Gantt chart with all dependencies and resource entered, and list of prioritized risks that is called part of risk. So this is from today's session. If you have any questions, you can ask me now. I'm going to end the session because, I don't want you guys to be more, to be very fast in these first 2-3 sessions. If you have any questions, you can ask me now. You can put that. If you have any question, you can also put in the WhatsApp group. Do you have any questions until now?
No, so far.
So basically, we are discussing the start, this is the start chapter, first chapter. We are discussing the details, the definitions, definitions and different types of organizations and, different types of project life cycles. We discussed different types of project life cycles, the stakeholder, how to manage the stakeholders, what are the different terms for net present value. So these are the things that we discussed today in our session. I will
Is chapter 1 completed?
Sorry, no, this chapter is not completed.
Okay.
This chapter is not completed.
Completed the basic knowledge of planning. Huh?
1 minute. Let me explain. These slides this is for first 3 chapters. If you open the PMP guide, the first 3 chapters, I'm discussing the first 3 chapters. Okay. So first 3 chapters is for the process group. The process group, 5 process group: planning, monitoring and controlling, execution, execution, monitoring and controlling, planning, and then closing. Initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. So we have 5 process group, right? So these 5 process group are being discussed in the PMP guide first 3 chapters. In first 3 chapters, which I'm discussing now. Then when we finish the first 3 chapters, we go for knowledge area. So, in every session, we will have one knowledge area chapter. You got my point?
Yeah.
So here we are discussing basically the 5 process group. Okay, which involves, the project life cycles, and then, the stakeholder engagement, stakeholder management, the different terms and different definitions. Okay. These are the things: the project charter, the project business case, the business documents, the pre-initiation, the initiation. So these are discussed in the first